I just want to say thanks for giving us some time to talk about these issues a bit better than the 3 to 6 second soundbite I get usually on the news. But I just say to you, I don't want people waking up in a few days' time regretting their decision and saying that they didn't do enough or didn't bother to get to there to vote or went for the minor party that they should have actually put their vote behind National. Because how are you going to feel on Sunday if you wake up on October the 15th and Labour, Te Pāti Māori and Greens can carry on for another 3 years? I just think that will take New Zealand backwards big time. This election matters. It's going to be consequential. It will shape what happens for New Zealand for generations to come. If you think we're in the wrong direction, you've got to step up for change. You've got to vote for change.
Christopher Luxon, thank you so much for your
Appreciate
time.
it. Good to be with you.
Election 23, the road to the Beehive, and that's National Party leader Christopher Luxon. Now, coming up after the break, Tim McCready's along. We'll have a bit of analysis of what Christopher said this day, and that's coming up next. See you soon. Welcome back. This is Election 23, Road to the Beehive. Now let's take a look at how Christopher Luxon performed with business journalist Tim McCready from the Herald's Mood in the Boardroom series. And he is a business strategy consultant and has worked with global corporates and startups in the agri sector here in New Zealand and in overseas as well. He loves his politics, and Tim, I must add that interview was recorded a week ago, and at the time things were probably looking better for National, particularly ACT. So it's amazing how things can change so much. It's a bit more uncertain now.
Yeah, I think that's right, actually. He's he's still looking really energized in the campaign. I think that's something that I was actually sitting next to him on a plane to Wellington a couple of weeks ago, and he sort of said to me he loves the vibe, and he's a real extrovert, so he loves being around people and just chatting to people. But yeah, I think you're right. I think things have changed a little bit during this, and I think he's been really emphasising the strength of his team, and he wants people to party vote National and not worry about all the other noise that's going on.
That was the message, all right. And then we're obviously just a few days out now. How did you find the interview on the whole?
Yeah, look, I think he's really relaxed, and as he said to you at the end there, the long format of these interviews, and I've said this to you before, but he enjoyed the chance to actually say a little bit more than those sort of 5 to 10 seconds that the 6 p.m. news usually gives him. I think we hear a lot about his attention to detail, especially during his time in New Zealand, where he was able to recall facts and figures so well. And we saw a lot of that in this conversation. I was really impressed when he was rattling off numbers around, the importance of agriculture to New Zealand and our economy. And he did that so well. So yeah, I thought it was a really, really enjoyable interview. And
we spoke about how he feels about having to cobble together a coalition following the election. Gosh, ACT, New Zealand First. Do you think he's concerned about that?
Yeah, and as you said, I think his concern has probably ramped up a little bit since you sat down with him. I think he is worried. I think the polls that we're seeing are showing that he probably should be worried. I've no doubt that the polls behind the scenes that the National Party will be doing will also show that. It looks really likely that New Zealand First, or I suppose we'd say Winston Peters, is going to be back. And Chris Luxon's been trying a few tactics to try and avoid that, right? We've had that video from John Key come out that's thread and that sort of pushed the party vote line. Also, Chris Luxon now saying that, if we need to, we could have a second election. So, I think I'm sure, I've no doubt that if he's in that position, he'll patch something together. But it's going to be interesting to see what allowances he has to make, in terms of who will be Deputy Prime Minister, who will be the Foreign Minister, who will be the Agricultural Minister. There's a few candidates that could take on that role.
Well, thinking of other coalition possibilities, Tim, we spoke about the Green Party and whether National could do a deal, become a purple colour. Do you think, he obviously is quite sure that he didn't really have much credence for it. He said that we're too far apart, effectively.
Yeah, and I think what he pointed to in Germany is true. The national equivalent there has been able to work with the Green Party. And like the Greens there, they are both environmentally and socially focused. But when you look at them, I think over the last 30 years or so, the teal side of that party that focuses on, restructuring the economy for environmental causes has strengthened quite a lot. But I think you and I have talked about this before. I don't think it will happen after this election, but I did like what he said about getting on with all party leaders. I think his respect for other leaders is something that we should recognize in New Zealand, because when you look at places like the US and the presidential election, things might look strange here, but I think we really do democracy quite well here. Yeah,
and James Shaw seems like his sort of guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I have no doubt they could get on very well. It's probably the rest of the party that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, Chris Luxon comes from a corporate background, of course. We know well his background with Unilever and Air New Zealand. He spent a lot of time overseas. Do you think he's done a good job coming up to speed with our New Zealand agricultural sector and the changes that he has proposed?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, he seems really across the numbers and things, right? And it sounds as though he's really lent on his agricultural spokespeople like Todd McClay and his predecessor, Todd Muller. And he's also spent a lot of time out on farms to really understand the sector. And I think that the examples that he gave, around bureaucracy and red tape, and that figure of 30% of farmers' time a week being spent on compliance, I'm sure that resonates with many of the people that are watching today. So I think that, he's made the case really clearly in terms of the changes he'll make. The ute tax will be gone by Christmas, right? Pencil in your utes for the new year.
How relaxed do you think he is these final days?
I mean, I don't know if what he portrays is necessarily how he's feeling. He looks really relaxed, but he keeps saying, don't wake up on Sunday, or don't make him wake up on Sunday, having to cobble together a government that he doesn't want, right? But yeah, I'm sure he's looking forward to a little bit of downtime on election day. He can't campaign then, so it's kind of forced upon him. And I think if National is successful at the election, they're going to have to get those coalition conversations underway right away. So he only has really that one day to relax.
Mind you, I think Winston's off fishing for 3 days like he normally does. So that'll give him a bit of time.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Thanks for being a part of this series as well. It's been great working with you. And that completes our final program. And my thanks to National Leader Christopher Luxon. In fact, all the politicians who agreed to appear. I'm Mark Leishman. Thanks so much for watching. Election 23, Road to the Beehive.
Brought to you by Sky Country Media, rural marketing specialists and producers of Country TV.